Hello and welcome back to Molby on Spot, which is your chance, thanks to Anfield Index Pro, to listen to the wit and wisdom of this man here who's joining me, Mr. Jan Molby, a Liverpool legend if ever there was one. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Trevor. Hope you're well.
I'm great, man. Yet again, I've been sent countless videos of you doing your thing back in the day. Lads wanting us to play an entire sort of reel of them. So I'm currently working out the logistics in terms of getting the rights to those things, because sometimes we pop stuff up on YouTube and the video isn't ours. It can get the whole episode sort of canned, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm trying to work it out. We'll get it sorted, and we'll soon get that episode out for people who are asking, because people just want to have an entire show about that. You know, I'd say there are lads, Jan, who could talk for hours about that United goal where he went off on a tear on its own. Never mind all the other belters that we have to talk about. So,
Is it all worth the hassle, Trevor?
Oh, it absolutely is, buddy.
Okay.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah. Oh no, it's no hassle. It's a labor of love, we shall say. Quite happily doing it. Let's get into it, and we have loads to talk about. Last time we spoke was just pre-Arsenal. Looking forward to that one. I think we were both, and you tell me correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were both very much wary of that game. Also excited and looking forward to it, but we had sort of gotten away with one on a couple of occasions. There were 6 points in the bag when it could easily have been less. I don't know that the Arsenal game was a massive difference in terms of how you would rate the season so far. It feels now to me like we've got 9 in the bag. It could be considerably less. But just a quick word on that before we get into our first big topic. It was a hell of a 3 points for the Reds to get at this stage of the season, Jan, whether entirely deserved or not.
Did it not just look like two teams that were happy with a point? That's how the game looked to me. Arsenal were quite happy to kind of take control of the game without creating anything whatsoever. And then when Liverpool scored, I mean, and also it was probably one of those games that needed a goal, like the one we got from Szoboszlai. There were half opportunities late on when Arsenal was forced to gamble a little bit. I thought Arsenal looked better when they put on some of the players a little bit more natural flair than the ones who started the game. But I just think that the 3 games before the international break, you just put them aside and go, what was the max we could have got from them 3 games? It's 9 points. We've got that. We closed the door on that, and now we move forward, isn't it? Because, and I've done nothing in the international break but talk to people. I've been abroad and talking to people, and all everybody talks about is, are we going to settle? Have we done too much? When's the team going to click? And I said, well, we don't know when the team's going to click. I said, what we do know is that we've got a lot of good footballers, and we've got a good, very, very, very good head coach in. And so, we're in a good situation, aren't we? And the big thing for me again, Trevor, is that I'm not convinced we need to be the best Premier League team ever to win the league. I've got a feeling that 85 points might do it again. And we know what it was like when we went toe-to-toe with Manchester City. And every season we're going in thinking, can we get 95 plus points? I don't know. Can we get 85 points? I think we can. And I think that might just be enough again, isn't it? So that's where I'm at with it all. Arsenal are what they are. Arsenal got a strong squad. By every day, I'm more and more convinced with Arteta as the manager, they won't win the Premier League. The only one left, Trevor, and we had a long discussion about Manchester City the other week, where I was pretty clear about how I feel about Manchester City. The only one I'm unclear about, Trevor, is Chelsea. There's a lot of things I like about Chelsea in terms of the players. I'm slightly worried about the goalkeeper maybe and the centre halves and whatever, but they do have a lot of ability. So maybe they might just emerge to be the main challenger. Having said all of that, the unknown, that World Championship thing that they took part in America in the summer, when will they pay a price for that? Isn't it? So it's interesting, isn't it? But as we sit here, we look. It's not ours. It's not one of them, isn't it? It's ours to lose. You know what I mean? But I just think that we're looking good, and I'd be amazed if there's not another 10 or 15% in this team. Once we get everybody settle in and we play the way that the coach wants us to play, and I think we'll be okay.
There's a lad a friend of mine who, like you, would have an interest in the occasional bit of time spent watching the GGs, and he reckons he likes to use the phrase handily placed. And we are certainly that, if nothing else. And it's really actually interesting that your conversations went to that place about settling as well, because that's where mine went. I can only imagine how much worse it is for you. But as the Liverpool guy amongst my fans and people who know me, I keep getting asked these questions. And to me, it's only a good sign. And the settling part of it, man, I'm not so sure it's a team-wide thing. I think it's the defence. And we're going to talk at length about the defence and individual people in a minute. But I think that is the thing. And if there was a thing that did look a bit more settled in the Arsenal game, it was that aspect of the team, I thought.
The defence?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to tell the story, Trevor. I don't know if you listened to this, where he must have been on some kind of a phone in or whatever, and now we're talking about the defence, somebody rung up and said, blah, 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 but already now, 3 games into the season, we found a right-back that's better than Trent. And then 2 minutes later, somebody rung up and said, well, we haven't seen enough of Frimpong to decide he's better than Trent. That's not who he meant, you know. But it's kind of, we've almost gone back to, which almost like playing right back, having a playmaker as a right back, haven't we? You know, so anyway, the defence, first 2 games, there was a lot to be worried about. There were also certain elements to be worried about in the Arsenal game, but I thought Joe was like, and it's not about, I'm not like, no, he scores the winning goal and therefore he's the best player on the pitch. But I thought he was the best player on the pitch, even if he wouldn't have scored the goal. So he's having a good season. Konate, I think, was motivated by Gyökeres, you know, this goal-scoring machine coming into the Premier League. And you always think that how are these new strikers going to fare when they play against the best, the biggest, the strongest, you know. And then Konate was motivated by that, wasn't he? Just to go, this is the level, isn't it? I mean, and Van Dijk had to do what he did, isn't it? And Kirk has had his best game in a Liverpool shirt. Although probably Arsenal's best player was their wide right, Madueke. I thought he had a good game, but I thought generally Kirky's dealt well with him. So my problem with it all is, Trevor, is that last year with Arne Slot, when we cruised to the title, we asked our fullbacks to play in a certain way, which was sit in, wasn't it? We were no longer looking for these rampaging fullbacks, whatever. I'm still waiting for our way of playing this season to come out. You know, how when it's all done, do we actually play? You know, will that almost be like a 4-2-4 because of Florian Wirtz and where he can play? And how attack-minded will the fullbacks be? Because I have to say that, and again, we discussed this with Frimpong and his sort of wing-back attitude, how he had a tendency to get in the way of Mo a little bit. Whereas Dominic Szoboszlai wants to do something totally different, isn't he? He wants to use the ball, he wants to use his energy in a different ways. And so I think it's interesting because we were all talking about what does Arne do with the midfield? I don't know, maybe he solved the problem.
Maybe. And we will get there to all the different things and a bit more detail on the defence in a minute and individuals in it. But let's talk about the big story, which is the one that got over the line in the interim since you and I spoke last. On the very, very last available seconds and moments, it was on the deal sheet, if you don't mind, was Alexander Isak, even though it felt a little bit closer than that in terms of being done a slight bit earlier. We're going to get to the Guehi one, which didn't get done when we're talking about the defence, but let's first focus on the big news. Now, there was an awful lot of conversation about this. You and I talked about maybe the player's approach, and I thought you were very honest and frank about how, well, they probably could have maybe dealt with things a little bit better, and would it be and have any difference if he had gone in and trained and played? Since then, I don't know what you think. Since then, there have been some interesting comments from the player himself with regard to conversations he'd had with the club, with regard to expectations he felt he had. And there's been pushback from them saying you signed a contract. And there's been everything in between and lots of extremism. The deal is over the line now. So if you want to talk about that aspect of it, that's absolutely cool with me. But now that he's in the fold, we can talk about when you feel he could possibly be introduced in a little bit. But just first, do you see this being a kind of a bit of a game changer for the squad in terms of he is a proper striker? You only have to watch him move in the little cameo he had for Sweden. People have been watching the highlights reels. He's a proper striker, Jan. He actually gets goals. And it is something that we've missed in that central position. Do you think it's a game changer for the squad?
I think there's every chance. I think there's every chance that he might be able to take us to the next level. I mean, nobody's doubting his ability. The big thing for me is that he's done it in the Premier League. He's done it coming up against the best. We know ourselves with Liverpool the problems we've had with him to try and deal with his movement and his quick feet. The goal up at St James's Park, the goal at Wembley. We even had the disallowed goal at Anfield. I think that was his debut, which was, if at all, offside. So he showed what he's capable of. The one thing, and I said this in a game, I think it was Newcastle Manchester United last season. I think he only had 5 assists up till that, and I think he ended last season with maybe 6 assists. And that for me is amazing. I thought he would have a lot more assists because of the type of player he is, because he's a very good link player and he's got very good temperament. He doesn't get frustrated. So I think that's possibly the one thing he might improve on at Liverpool, getting more than 6 assists throughout a season. But now that he's in the fold, we welcome and wish him all the best. Trevor, but I'll never change my mind in that I'm disappointed with how he dealt with things at Newcastle. And also, Trevor, it's like, to be revered, you can't put a price on that, can you, Trevor? And he's kind of damaged that a little bit for himself, isn't he? He wouldn't be able to walk around the streets of Newcastle and get the credit that he deserves, which is a shame, isn't it? And I keep saying to this, in the football, the world of broken promises, isn't it? You get promised here, there, and everywhere, and more often than not, nothing ever comes to fruition. You just have to accept that. But I'm a firm believer in, you're under contract, you train, and in between training, you negotiate. And also, I think it's a bit like, like people have gone about when you're a professional footballer and they talk about, well, you have a night out or whatever, and they go, well, when do people turn up for training? Well, hey, there's one rule, Trevor, an unwritten rule. Nobody ever turns up late for training, because then 20 people are waiting for you to turn up for training. And I think it's a bit the same with Alexander Isak, isn't he? I mean, that whole dressing room is sitting there at Newcastle. They haven't got somebody else in through the doors, so they know, the players know, because you're only going to look at Newcastle in their 3 games this season. Apart from the 2 goals they scored against us, they haven't been able to score against Leeds, and they drew 0-0 somewhere. I can't remember where that was. Aston Villa. So they've struggled to score goals, and they knew that, and that's why I always think is, maybe. But as I said, now we put a line through that. He's a Liverpool player now. We welcome, wish him all the best. And again, and we said the same, this boy's a real player. I mean, where do you want to put your money if you want to have a guarantee? It's people like Isak, Harry Kane. There's not many of them. If you look at the others, we saw Gyökeres firsthand for Arsenal. I've seen Benjamin Sesko twice, only for half an hour, but I haven't seen anything I like. And that's 70-odd million. And they're the kind of money you're paying. You're paying them big money for gambles. Yeah, okay, Gyökeres has scored 1 million goals and whatever, but not in the Premier League, and Sesko is the same, not in the Premier League. Big, and that's a big thing for Liverpool. And they've gone. They wouldn't have been prepared to pay that type of money for the others because they haven't done it in the Premier League. People would say, what about Hugo Ekitike? Liverpool must have seen in Hugo Ekitike what we've seen in the first 3 games. That he's also a real player. So the reason that they were quite prepared to pay that money.
It's funny. I think in politics, military operations, they call what Alexander Isak did as scorched earth. I mean, you just everything that's left behind is no longer viable. And you're right,
Yeah.
that guy's not going for a kebab in Newcastle anytime soon. But as you say, he's here now, and we look forward to the team. And that's what the second part of the little heading there is, what now, that I wanted to get into with you. Because like you rightly say, Hugo Ekitike has done so much better, I think, than most people expected. He's not finishing games. Arne is obviously not happy 100% with his level of Premier League fitness yet, or Premier League match legs yet. But he has shown a real natural ability to finish. He has this fantastic attitude. He can use his body really well in a way that we've often looked at some of our bigger lads and wished we could see. I'm thinking of someone like Cody Gakpo, who's a similar big lad and doesn't always necessarily use that physicality. Hugo's even more wiry, I think, lighter kind of frame, but he's a nuisance. He's an absolute nuisance to defenders. So the question I wanted to tee up for you was, as you look at the team settling down and assuming that we have a fit and firing Isak, is there a structure where, like, are we looking now at maybe Arne having to readjust again this team going forward? Because you'd love to think there could be a structure found where we had maybe Ekitike approaching from the left in games, which we've seen him do, with Isak through the centre and Mo on the right. Or do you think it's going to be just a kind of look, it's a big season and there are plenty of half hours here and starts there, and the two boys rotate in that central 9 position? What's your gut feeling on that from what you've seen?
My gut feeling is, Trevor, it was the one question I wish you'd never asked.
Sorry, man.
Because I think it's really, really difficult. I think it's really difficult to know what the exact plan was with it. When you think Wirtz, Isak, and Ekitike, we bought them 3, and ideally, because this is also what Liverpool Football Club are very concerned about, is that when the club spend big money, that money needs to be on the pitch. So we paid the money for these 3 guys. The club haven't bought them to sit on the bench. So how do we fit them all in? We briefly toyed with last season on a couple of occasions playing in 4-4-2, but with Mo in a more central load. So, Mo has to be in the team. So you then mentioned Cody Gakpo, to be fair, has got off to the best of start in the season. He looks a little bit leggy for some reason. And then I'm looking at Ekitike and Isak, and I'm thinking, who would be best equipped to play from the left? Now, the natural thing would be to think that it's got to be Hugo Ekitike if any of them 2 are going to play from the left, isn't it? But I just wonder whether Isak might be a better. I don't know whether he's a better in that role. Ekitike to me just looks like a 9 who wants to run into the channel, who wants to take defenders away to create space for teammates, and whether he has that sort of technical ability that you need to play on the left. Whether Isak might be a better bet there, but you wouldn't pay the money for Isak and the goal scoring machine that he is, and then take him away from the goal. So it is generally, Trevor, what are we thinking?
It's a tricky one. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Finish
No, I'm just thinking realistically, Burnley. So he won't start against Burnley, Alexander Isak. Then we're looking at Everton. He won't start against Everton either. And then who do we play at the end of the month? Who's the last game?
We've got Carling Cup against Southampton, and then we've got I think then we've got Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace.
Well, I think we'd see.
Yeah. So I'm thinking Crystal Palace might get a start for an hour, as well as getting plenty of minutes in the others, as well as the Champions League. We've also got 2 Champions League games before the big unveil, I think. I think the big one for Arne Slot now where he's looking is Chelsea away. I think he's looking. We've got to try and get Alexander Isak bang on for Chelsea away early October. So I think that's the target. Maybe I'm slightly disappointed he didn't get more minutes for Sweden. He wasn't involved at all in the first game. And in the second game, he came on really late. So maybe I'm slightly disappointed with the fact that he didn't get 30 minutes in each of those 2, because that would have been a massive bonus for us. But that's not Sweden's problem, is it? They got their own problems. They can't win a game, can't score a goal. So they got their own problems, isn't it? So yeah, I'm slowly thinking Chelsea away is the big one, isn't it? I think that's the one he's working towards, Arne Slot. Also, I think with Everton's going to be tricky. Everton's always tricky, but it's at Anfield, isn't it? You know what I mean? So I think we'll be okay. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But Burnley, no, I can't see him standing against Everton either. And maybe Palace for an hour, and we'll take it from there, isn't it? But that's like that's our Christmas, isn't it, Trevor? When everybody's fit to see the team, you know, because everybody will be going, "I told you," and some people go, "I never saw that coming." So that's sort of our next Christmas, isn't it? Can't wait for them all to be fit and see what does, including Bradley being fit, Frimpong being fit, Dominic being looking like being our best right back, and what he does with all that, isn't it? So I generally can't wait. And we do know, you mentioned it, Trevor, that there's plenty of games, plenty of minutes, yeah, but that's not really how Arne does it, is it? You know, he kind of settles on these are the guys that I trust, isn't it? So I even with the options that he has, I think we'll get to a stage where we, by mid-October, might be in a position where we can go, okay, this is how he likes to play. These are the players that he likes to trust.
Yeah, it certainly pushes it out, that thorny issue of can those three guys play together? Was that the idea? How could it really have been the idea? Were we really that optimistic we'd get both Ekitike and himself? So it does push that question out a little bit that we don't have to answer it just yet. But it is really interesting that we kind of robbed ourselves of the natural, dynamic, left-footed presence of Diaz by selling him on. And Cody is never that guy. He's more of a systems guy, isn't he? And he can do a job there, but he's not taking lads on. He's cutting in and he's hopefully getting a goal or putting in a back post cross. He does that really well, or drifts across the penalty box and maybe causes a bit of carnage. So it's a different team until we have everyone available. And then, like you say, is either Ekitike or Isak the man to do that from that side? We can only wait and see. Maybe the whole different shape in mind by the time we get there. There was one last Isak thing I want. Oh yeah, the Sweden thing, right? Just to clarify, because I want to know if you think I'm absolute mentalist. I said something on Twitter about what was even the point of him going away if he doesn't get sizable minutes in the second game. Oh, I got absolutely condescended to by football experts left, right, and centre who told me that it was great for him to be away with his pals and get a break from all the hassle. Now, you are a man who has quite literally lived this situation of going to a new environment, in this case, the same city, and having to have that culture shock of settling in. Yours was going from one country to another. His is going from a really torrid situation to hopefully what's going to be his new future. So I felt, would it not have been better for him to be around the club, meeting the people he's going to be working with on a day-to-day basis, who are going to be responsible for his health, settling into his new house, finding out what freaking pillow he likes, going around the city, familiarizing himself with his environs. Where am I going to go for a walk? Where am I going to go for a jog? Where am I going to go for a run? What am I going to do? Where do I eat? Who's going to be my chef? Whatever it happens to be, getting all those details and ducks in a row. I thought that might be more beneficial, and because obviously he would be training. Maybe we could have set up a behind closed doors friendly, but maybe the plan all along was to give him this break, and 20 or 30 minutes or whatever it was he ended up getting with injury time. What did you make of that? I found it hard to understand what the plan was there.
So, Trevor, there's a million people who know a lot about football, and there's loads of people who know more about football than ex-players. You know, we got football experts, and that's all they do. They analyze games, and that's all they talk about. But the one thing they can't talk about is what it was like to be a player.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess that's why you asked me that question, isn't it? So I've been in that position. And I know what I would have preferred. Yeah, I would have preferred to go down to Liverpool and settle in at Liverpool. Also knowing that when you go away and playing with Sweden, it's kind of the two highlights of the two games, aren't they? So you're building up towards the games, which means that 2 days before the game, you won't do a lot. The day before the game, you won't do a lot. On the day of the game, you won't do a lot if you sit on the bench. And then that day after the game, there's a bit of a warm down, isn't it? So it almost seems like, I fully understand this, you know, Sweden, and it's their prerogative, isn't it? But I can guarantee you, I'm not convinced that many players will tell you, Trevor, but I'm convinced that most players would have said, if it's a straight choice between going to Sweden, and some of these people that gave you a little bit of stick, that they were talking as if it was some kind of a stag night, weren't they? Going away with his mates. I mean, that's not what we do, Trevor. This is professional football, isn't it? So I think, and most people probably wouldn't say so, Trevor, but if you had a choice of going away to play with Sweden in 2 games, but not playing, it's all very good if you're not, but he is it, isn't he? It's not as if you're number 21 in the squad and you're just allowed to be in the Sweden, but he's it, isn't he? You know what I mean? So also for him to go there and all this focus on him, and then when the games come, you're not involved. So I'm absolutely convinced he will never ever say it, and he'll say, "Oh, I was grateful and support the lads and hopefully they can qualify for the World Cup," which is looking more and more unlikely. But I think he would have preferred, because there's all this uncertainty, isn't it, Trevor? And now he walks into the training centre, AXA, together with everybody else. In the other situation, he could have been there waiting for them, couldn't he? And that's also a difference, isn't it? It's if you're the first one there, isn't it? So then people come to you, isn't it? So yeah, there's a lot of things in that. And so I think most players would have said, if you're the star, or one of these stars, if you have a choice of going to Anfield and get yourself ready for what is hopefully something he's going to be doing for the rest of his footballing career, which is play for Liverpool, or go away with Sweden, 2 games, sit on the bench, come on for 20, 30 minutes against Kosovo in a game you lose, and everybody's getting dogs abuse back in Sweden because they can't win a game. I think he'd prefer to go to Kirby. I'm 100%. He'll never tell us that, Trevor. I'm telling you what I feel, and I know a lot of people, football people, would have said the same. Sweden is great, and if he can go to the World Cup next summer, but if we can get on with this now, because in the end, this is what he's going to get judged on, isn't he? He could have scored 8 goals for Sweden, and it would have gone under the radar compared to him coming on against Burnley and scoring, isn't it? Because the Premier League is a different level.
In my gut, I kind of knew you were going to say that, and it's reassuring to hear that I wasn't completely off beam. Can you consider that this was what it was all about? This is what all that trauma was about, was getting to Liverpool. And ironically, Jan, he ended up getting a whole load of stick from, I don't know, sort of crypto Newcastle fans in yellow saying, you're a disgrace, and, this is, you weren't fit, you didn't keep yourself fit, and now you weren't available for your country and you've let us down. He ended up being the villain for Sweden as well. So it's a very strange situation.